Ice tells Joe Budden he wants ownership in his future deals.
It
That's
hit
a
me
trick.
and was like, yo, this was a couple months ago. Yeah, from this point on, no more deals without equity.
Yeah. Stop getting excited over the dollar sign.
Like
you gonna get
I'm like, what? He was like, yo, dog, we're not signing no more deals without equity.
the business.
You're getting pieces
get your
of
business
everything
right.
that we do now.
That's right, y'all. On a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Ice talked about how he's changing his approach to signing deals, and he said he wants ownership. Now, he wasn't necessarily talking about the Joe Budden podcast, and he might have been talking about his deals outside of the show, but this is a big change from the stance that Ice used to have in the past. For those of you that don't know, one of the biggest bones of contention that me and Ice had was when I published a video saying that Ice might want ownership in the future. Because when he was on a Reddit talk not too long ago, he said he wants no ownership in the Joe Budden podcast.
I don't own anything with the Joe Budden podcast. I own me. Officially Ice. That's all I own. But I don't own anything with the podcast. So Joe go sign a deal tomorrow that's worth $1 billion. What that's not my deal. And I know that. I knew that going in. Now when Joe calls me to do this show, hey, guess what? I ain't got to do nothing but sit down and talk. People be asking me, yo, a Patreon episode didn't go out today, bro. I don't know. I'm not responsible for that, nor do I care.
Now, fast forward several years later, and it seems like Ice is changing up his approach as a businessman. Now, this comes on the heels of what looks to be an interesting year for the Joe Budden podcast and the network. First of all, I really and deeply believe that Ish is under an impending contract negotiation, and that may be why he's so disinterested in Moody. I even submit that he might know how much other members of the show are making, and that is lending to why he seems so disengaged most of the time. But back to Ice. Could it be that maybe he's seeing things different as he navigates his future on the Joe Budden podcast? Now, I want to be clear and let everyone know that I truly believe that Ice is a sound businessman in the terms of like knowing his value to the show. I think he knows he's pretty expendable and that he doesn't add so much that he's above being replaced. So I think he'll keep his negotiation tactics pretty low key. However, this is a marked departure from what he used to say in the past, and it illustrates how people change once they get on the Joe Budden podcast. Ice used to just always talk about, hey man, I just want to get the bag. I just want the bag. Just give me the bag. Sign me the caffeine. Sign me the Twitch. That's all I want. That's all I need. I don't care about no ownership. But now he has a new manager. And I'm curious to find out who his new manager is, as it used to be Hovain. R.I.P. Hovain. Could it be someone who's a little bit more ambitious? And we all know managers can change the game when it comes to a deal someone may have. Remember when Joe Budden used to complain about Benner and Rory? Benner was the one that I believe was guiding Rory as he navigated the contract with Joe Budden that would eventually go awry. But let me know what you think, listeners. Is this a sign of things to come for Ice? Do you feel like he might be rethinking his future on the Joe Budden podcast? Because I got news for everybody on that show. You will never get ownership. I don't think Joe's giving up anything in his company. It doesn't look like that aligns. If Rory and Maul didn't get ownership, what makes you think that all of these new additions will get any type of ownership? On top of that, nobody on the podcast even halfway gives it up to even consider ownership. It doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And I do think that's one of the most interesting things that's fascinating about the Joe Budden podcast is Joe preaches ownership. But right now, it looks like the only person who probably has any level of ownership, if at all, is Ian Schwartzman. That's right, the only person. Every other co-host that has ran through that show doesn't seem to get any type of ownership, participate in the profit. Just interesting stuff. And I think Joe wants it that way. Now, I wanted to move on to this episode in totality because this was a fascinating discussion Joe had about Alex Cooper signing to Sirius and navigating away from Spotify. She got a $100 million deal. She's taking 5 shows to the channel. And that's one thing I think a lot of people are just reporting, like she's just taking her one show. Now she's taking a bunch of them. And it seems like Joe Budden alluded to a lot during the conversation. First, it looks like he was kind of mentioning the Rory and Maul deal, hinting that there might have been like, the $1 million. I think he said something like $10 million, or he came close to it. And he also mentions how, he could have had a network. Imagine if Joe had his own network. He fumbled his own network. He could have had Rory and Maul under the Joe Budden network. He could have had See the Thing Is under the Joe Budden network. He could have had The Need to Know under the Joe Budden network. Now, he's not going to get the $100 million bag that Alex Cooper, Joe Rogan gets, but that was something very competitive. Something very competitive with the Black Effect. Now, the Black Effect has an unlimited war chest. I mean, that's really an iHeart subsidiary. It's not a real independent network. But these shows would have been some of the biggest players in the game. Like, I know people laugh at See the Thing Is and Need to Know, but it's hard to gain any level of traction. And Rory and Maul is a monster of a show. I know a lot of people make fun of them, but they have a small but extremely loyal fan base that mimics the craziness of the Joe Budden fan base. They go to shows. They buy merch. They roll deep. If you in the comment section, they coming for you. And another big thing Joe says is that he's going to go to some type of organization and ask for the bag. Is he talking about PrizePicks? He's probably talking about PrizePicks. This is, I think, heading into the second year of the deal or whatever he's got going on. Maybe he's going to be knocking on that door. And we all know he just did an ad with PrizePicks.
Trav is about to go off tonight.
Facts. That's the play.
Run it, and I'll see y'all tonight.
I told y'all to run that. Come on now. You said it. Come on. You said it.
And that PrizePick ad was very interesting. I don't know why Joe had fake co-hosts in there. I feel like he should probably not have played with that. Because if these dudes break up, that ad will definitely be something that people reference. And I'm curious to see how the rest of the show responds to this new level of attention Joe's getting. This is a PrizePicks ad. There's a commercial. Drewski's in it. Drewski is in that. You think Flip feels some type of way? Remember when Joe used to joke about Drewski being bigger? Drewski got you wiped down. All that stuff. We'll see. Because a lot of people say they not pocket watching, but it's just the human nature of things to pocket watch. Oh, why is, I wonder how much they got invested in Joe. He has a big ad. He has a big billboard. He must be getting to it. And that ad isn't something that he has to split with anybody else. He brings that if he wants to. I wanted to get to something else. I heard a rumor about how much the Joe Budden podcast members make per month. Now, this rumor is so outlandish that I don't even want to go public with it because it's just a rumor. But I want to take your guess in the comments. If you have a guess, let me know. And I'll try to do the science, and cross-reference it with the rumor that I heard. I don't believe it. But one thing I will suggest is that outside of Flip and Melissa Ford, I think everybody gets paid the same rate. And I truly think, like some of the people have suggesting on my Twitter spaces, like Kitchen and Furious, those are people who hang out on my Twitter spaces, that they're all getting paid the same. That Ish, Ice, Imani might be getting paid the same. That's just a guess. Also, I want to end this video by shouting out Elevation. Shout out to Elevation. He was someone that helped me think about this video. He has a channel, JBP Elevated. And when I saw something he said about Ice, talking about he wants ownership in his future deals, I was like, oh, I got to do a video about this because I remember when Ice was the first one talking about he didn't want no ownership. So please subscribe to his channel. He does great work and, he's just doing his thing. Also, follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. Make sure you tap in with me everywhere I go. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit the like button. Hit the downvote button. Do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. No, it actually does matter. Just do one of those things, please. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.